and entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit Podcast. I'm happy to be back in the studio in New York City, in Times Square of all places. Today I've got a guest on the show that I've wanted to interview for a long time for Creatures of Habit. He is I would argue to say a quintessential creature of habit. The guy is crushing it in the game of podcasting. His name is Chewning. You've probably heard of him from his podcast, Ever Forward Radio. He's about 6 years in on the podcast. He is an East Coaster, just like me. Came up in Virginia, then ended up in DC, went to the Army, did 6 years active service, and then he created a career in clinical health coaching. Man, welcome to the show. I want to ask you about a habit that you've broken, how you broke it, and how it's changed your life.
I had a habit of trying to make my habits everybody else's habits. And there are a lot of things to pick and pull from that I can apply to me or anybody really. But really, I guess you could call this a habit. I used to not let anybody in, and I think a lot of times, maybe people listening to the show, they're really kind of thinking maybe the physical self. But I can promise you when you really introduce and maintain a consistent routine, develop habits around your mental health, the head and the heart. I promise you, it's like that's the next, after walking, sleeping, prioritizing mental health will have the most cascading benefits in your life. I used to have a habit of not letting anybody in, of keeping walls up, for a lot of different reasons. Call it, being a soldier, trying to keep that tough exterior, not letting any emotions get the better of me because I think it might equal life or death. The traumatic death of my father definitely put up a lot of walls. And then just really transitioning back out into civilian life, unbeknownst to me at the time, I was confused and I was living a life, an army of one, really not in a good way. Until I then met my now wife, who, man, she like demoed the shit out of that wall. But it's like I wanted her to. I let her. And ever since I completely just surrendered to, I'm going to let one person in. I'm going to let the right person in. I'm going to first do the work on myself to really get clear or clearer on what I want to share, how I want to share it, and have trust that this is the person for me. Bro, like everything has gotten better in my life. And there's so much that we carry with us that we think we have to, or we're the only ones qualified to, or no one will understand, or no one's going to help me. A lot of that's bullshit because a lot of times we don't need help. We just need, like, Michael, I just need you to fucking be here. I need you to sit here. I need you to listen to me, because in that, it's very cathartic. And when we say a lot of this stuff out loud in our minds and in our hearts, we kind of like formulate our own next steps, I think I've realized. And so letting someone in and then being the person that gets let in, in reciprocity has, I think, been the best thing ever, the best habit I've ever developed.
I love that, man. I love that because that is so, it's right where I am in my life today. I'm actually working on, I hired a coach to work with me on some, I've done a lot of work on myself through recovery programs and all sorts of stuff, therapy, but I really wanted to sort of dig deeper. And
good for you, man.
Thank you. And I started doing this work on the inner child work. And it's been, it's really polarizing. And what you just said about letting people in, I mean, there's a laundry list of traumas that I experienced, specifically as a kid, that have literally brick by brick built this wall that is just like closed me off. I'm like, I love people, I'm social, I love connecting with people, but there's a big difference between like this far away, and then once you hit this barrier right here, where
alert.
Like fucking a fire alarm go off. You know what I'm saying? It's very hard. This little 3-inch to my heart, this 3-inch gap is so tough. And I know that breaking that mask away is like going to change a lot. And so I'm out there in the community where I live upstate now. I mean, I've joined this men's group, like these dudes just literally sit around a fire on Thursday nights, check in, and don't say anything.
Damn.
It's the weirdest thing, but I'm telling you, working off of each other's just silent energy has been like a really interesting thing for me. It's a first time for me. Yeah. Like when we, I almost got into a fist fight the first one I went to because some dude like told me I was doing it wrong. It was weird. It was weird. But then I went back and it was just like these guys just sit around a fire and you check in and like it's not about talking. It's about being there and connecting with like in a very unique way. Anyway, I really appreciate you saying that because that is right where I'm at too in my life, and it sounds like you're further along than I am in it, and it's something that I'm desperately looking to uncover.
I love to hear that. I'm very happy that you have that. You know, honestly, even maybe if you were to say I'm further along in that space might be true, but honestly, even something like that, I don't have. And maintaining meaningful male relationships in my life has been something that I've struggled with. And it's one of those things that, it's like I'm the common denominator. So you kind of want to, like, is it me? Am I the problem? I'm not the problem. but there also is, a lot of life that's happened to that. Like I said, my father passed away when I was 19 years old. He was my everything. The two most meaningful male relationships, friendships I had in the military when they got out, they couldn't handle. They took their own lives. 2 other brothers of mine in the Army, for whatever reason, just like gone. Like they're still physically here on earth, but just like out of my life. And when you go through life, I think especially as a guy, when you go through these benchmarks of high school, growing up together, transitioning out into college, your first job, maybe you join the military, whatever that next thing is when you leave the nest, and then what happens in that next experience, and then business, and then other brothers and fatherhood and all that stuff. It's like, I think as guys, there's something that happens we can't quite put our finger on, but we damn sure know when it's gone. And so you got to kind of take responsibility for that. And that's what I've been doing for the past several years, and just, not playing the victim, and really just working on me. But I can tell you, man, like I would love every Thursday night to sit around a campfire with a bunch of dudes.
As I think men get older, especially married men get older, that level of brotherhood is much harder to come by, right? Like, and the truth is that I again, like I'm also in recovery, so I don't drink. I'm not like going to the bar and like hanging out.
All the typical stuff is kind of like, nah, I can't do that. Or
Yeah.
I know it's not going to serve me.
It just doesn't. I mean, I could still go hang out with guys drinking, but like the truth is that I don't do it, so I don't have that community, right? And quite frankly, like I love my wife and kids, but at the end of the day, like I know that I need as a human being, forgetting about a man, woman, whatever it is, like I need that community that is not just my romantic, intimate relationship with my wife and my leadership relationship and love relationship with my kids. I need to be able to just like, man, bonding with another man is like very, very important to me on a whole cast of levels. So I very happy that you brought that up because it is something that a topic that I think we could probably have a whole podcast around. Like I did I did this crazy thing called the Modern Day Nights Project in April of last year. And I just wanted to like do something really hard. I wanted to like lift up some rocks, and I wanted to connect with a bunch of dudes that were like coming from the same place.
Is this the Bidris-Koulian thing?
Yeah. And so I did that, and it was really intense. It was very, very physically challenging, mentally challenging. But it was like it reminded me that I have what it takes to do hard shit. Do I have what it takes to consistently hang out with other dudes? You know what I mean? Like think about that, right? Like I could put out with the best of them, savage-wise, physically, but like, do I have what it takes to be consistent in a brotherhood or community of men? Like, why is that a fucking problem for me? Why is that a problem? And that's what has been driving this inner child work. I'm trying to figure out why that is. So me opening up vulnerably right now is like, I love when the conversation can go in this direction, you know, because I think not enough men talk about that. And we do walk around with like macho masks on that say, I'm a big, strong protector dude. But like, yeah, well, how good are your relationships? You know what I mean?
Imagine this, man. Imagine this. And nothing to knock. I love B. You know, he's incredible. But like, imagine this. You go through that experience, or you do another experience. You create your own, and it's as aggressive and as intense and physically and mentally demanding as what that was. And then the second that's over, or in between stations, what's your biggest trauma? What are you most afraid of in your life right now?
Well, the weird thing is that there was a ton of that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I can't.
Good.
I mean, like, we're not supposed to talk about it, but like,
Yeah.
basically the way it works is you go, it's a 75-hour course. After the first 40, 50 hours, most of the people who are going to quit. And that's when it's all of that work.
Good, great, amazing. I mean, that doesn't surprise me then. You know, Bedros, you know, he's very in tune with this stuff. But I mean, just in general, I think the message there is, in pursuit of habits, in pursuit of an optimized life, in pursuit of, especially, I think, the modern man's life, we naturally gravitate towards that stuff, or we think that's what we need to do or should do consistently forever to tap into the masculinity, to tap into what we can be. But I can tell you, you know, personally speaking, again, like, that will only take you so far. What you're doing is just like, you're becoming a bigger, stronger person who is stuffing a beach ball down below the water that is only a matter of time before it's going to fucking pop up, knock you out, and like, then you're going to have to really deal with the shit. But if you can find a way to make those two together as much as possible, or even, you know, 80-20, 60-40, 90-10, like, it takes, I think, way more courage and way more strength and way more pushing through fears, really, to do that stuff than going to do hard physical shit, at least for us guys.
100%, man. There's like, you know, it is the hardest thing for me in my life. There's no doubt about it. And it shouldn't be, you know, it shouldn't be. Like, when you really think about it, look at your history, your success, and your business, your career, my history, my success, my business, my career. If you asked me what the hardest thing that I do in my life is on a daily basis, I would probably, to stay consistent with, I would tell you, connecting with other men.
Damn, man.
You know?
I got you, bro. This was my just cry for help, really. I needed you.
You know, man, but you know what? I bet you this resonates with a lot of people, whether you're, you know, whatever gender, right? Like, community is becoming harder. In person, in real life, community is becoming harder and harder and harder because technology has really, truly taken out, you know, and it did, you know, it's so interesting. Last thing before we finish, because I think that this is so important for people to hear. Max Lugavere just had, I forgot the guy's name, but there's the longest standing human study.
Dr. Mark Schultz, I just had him on the show too. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, The Good Life.
So
yeah.
It's that Harvard study, right?
Yep, it's 82 years, the longest scientific study of human happiness ever.
Yeah. So what that study showed, because it went right through the I think in 1950 something, when TV became a thing, people stopped going out. It was all about like bowling and the drive-in and you know, like. And
picnic.
Yeah, you know, like being out with people.
Yeah.
When television hit the scene, like 50% of that activity shit the bed.
That was the first meta world, right?
Right.
We can be together apart.
It's out of control. And so I know for me that I feel so good. Obviously, my community and my family is my heart. I love having people at my house. And not only do I love because I love connecting with them, and like we are the house that hosts our house. Like, we are the house that hosts. And it's not because we have a better house or I'm a chef, or it's because genuinely I know how important it is to have community.
Yeah, man.
It is so important to have community. it is, I mean, that study says it all day, right? Like, you know, your happiness is truly contingent for long-term happiness, contingent on the success of your personal relationships.
It's the biggest through line, that entire study. I mean, it's not even that. It's not even just like happiness. It's decreased all-cause mortality. So not only are you going to live longer, live happier, but you're actually going to want to be alive that old, into your 80s, 90s, and plus, because you actually can wipe your own ass. I mean, you can walk around. You actually enjoy your life. It's human connection.
Is that episode on your podcast out yet?
Just came out last week, yeah.
Okay, so anybody who's listening to this, do yourself a favor. What episode is it?
678, I think.
Damn.
Mark Schultz. Yeah.
678 episodes. So listen to that episode, because I was floored when I knew about that study, but I had never really dug deep into it. The stats are insane. Dude, this was awesome. I really appreciate you stopping by on your way to the airport.
Yeah, it's, I was in the neighborhood. I walked out of West Hollywood and I was like, let me hop, skip, and jump over to New York.
Dude, this was great. And
and again, to your point, like, sorry to cut you off there, but like doing something like this in person, like this has become a priority for me, for my show, and as much as possible in doing other shows like this. Like, this very easily could have done over a Zoom, but like the energy, the connection, the moments we had before, the moments we're going to have
can't
after.
duplicate it.
No, and that's what I'm after. And I think that's a great little example to like habit, creating a new habit, looking at what you're already doing in your life, tweak it, maximize it a little bit. The book, was it Habits? Is it BJ Fogg or
Not Atomic Habits?
The Habit Cycle.
BJ Fogg is like the OG habit guy.
I'm picturing the book. It's like yellow with like a red circle. Anyways, this is where I kind of like Atomic Habits. He talks about a lot in there too. But just like, instead of always trying to recreate the wheel or think what you want is unattainable or like way more work, you're already doing part of it. Swoop in, manipulate it. So we swooped in on the Zoom. So get the hell out of here. We're going to do this in person. And this is contributing to that overarching bigger goal we want of having more guys in our life, more meaningful relationships. Odds are you're already doing something very, very close to the thing that you want to do. It's just, hop on it and make it better.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you. And I knew we were similar people. Now I know that we're basically the same person.
And I eat your oatmeal too, so it's like...
Anything, where can we find you?
Yeah, so my show, Ever Forward Radio, anywhere you listen or watch podcasts. If you've enjoyed this message, odds are you're going to really like what I talk about on that show, on solo episodes or with guests. Instagram, really. But, it's probably the two most places I'm hanging out.
Awesome. Guys, this was a good one. I appreciate you. I love you very much. If you like what you heard, do me a favor and share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Pass it along. If you're really feeling up to it, give us a 5-star rating and write a nice review. Other than that, I love you. I appreciate you. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.